School of Tomorrow events. I'd like to welcome you to a World of Tomorrow 2021 and beyond towards happier futures, the 13th edition of the School of Tomorrow event series, and it's fully virtual as you can see. The non-profit SOT event series was launched by Beacon House in 2000 as part of its CSR and to help inform the direction of the organization while also engaging global communities in conversations shaping the future of schools and societies. My name is Mehmal Sarfraz, and I'm moderating this session on behalf of Beacon House School Systems. I'm a journalist and co-founder of The Current, which is a digital news platform. It's my great pleasure to welcome you today to this live session at the 11th edition of SOT Events. And today's topic is Lights, Camera, COVID. Do you think big hits or taking a big hit? First, let me introduce you to our panelists. We have Ms. Mariam Bacha with us. She has a cinema career that spans over 2 decades across 4 continents. As the CEO of Cinepax, the #1 cinema chain in Pakistan, she's entrusted to do what she loves most: open new locations, create unrivaled entertainment experiences for families in Pakistan, and transform her team into the next generation of cinema leaders. Then we have Mr. Sajid Hasan with us, who's a Pakistani actor, and he's been recognized from his involvement in the Hasina Moin play Dhoop Kinare, in which he played a comedic role. He has written many plays, in which include Kachwa aur Khargosh and Gum. Hasan made his debut in 2004 in Salake, in which he played the antagonist. And he's also played a role in Angelina Jolie film A Mighty Heart. Mr. Mikaal Zulfiqar has been part of the media industry for more than 15 years. He started his career in fashion and TV commercials and soon moved to acting. Mr. Salman Iqbal is one of the most dynamic and innovative entrepreneurs today. In a short span of 15 years, he spearheaded the launch and growth of Pakistan's largest satellite television network, AIY Digital, which is now a global powerhouse broadcasting 12 television cinema channels into 120 countries worldwide. Mr. Salman Iqbal has been a dominant force behind sparking the growth and development of Pakistan's television industry from a $16 million market in 2001 to a $480 million in US industry today. So now let's begin our session. I'd first like to start with Mariam because, this COVID, this pandemic has been really, really hard for the entertainment industry. And we understand, Sajid Saab and Mikaal and Salman Saab can all tell us about it. But Mariam, I'd like to start with you because cinemas have taken the biggest hit. One of the biggest hits during the pandemic. They've been closed down due to lockdowns. And, then if you're not vaccinated and, the vaccination process in Pakistan is slow and other countries as well. So tell me that, what do you see the future of cinemas? And how do you see the future of the entertainment industry?
Well, I think that's the biggest question at the moment. The industry, the cinema industry around the world has suffered a year break, and it has never been seen such a long break in the cinema industry, not even with the Spanish flu. At the moment, what we are seeing in countries that are opened and that have opened, we are seeing a revival of the cinema. I think that this year-long inside the house had made people come actually say, no, I want to get out of my house. And in a way, it has been extremely positive for the cinemas. Fast and Furious in one weekend already collected $6 billion. In France, there were 8 a.m. queues to go into the cinema and buy tickets. President Macron went to the cinema. So I think what you're seeing is a revalue of what was good. And cinemas never stopped being good. It was just a matter of whether it was convenient to be, to watch something on your phone or not, or actually watch it in an entire powerhouse that is built for how the movie was intended to be shot. When a director shoots a movie, he shoots the movie intended to be watched in cinemas. He's not shooting a movie intended to watch on the phone. So I'm seeing things. Are you there? Are you guys there?
Yes, there was just a technical
Okay.
for a second.
So what we are seeing is that the pandemic only accelerated a process, yes, that was going to happen anyways, but it was taking a little bit of time. What the pandemic did was, for all the main studios of Hollywood, were saying, okay, we need to collect money from somewhere. They were working already on building their own streaming platforms. And what happens now is that they managed to release those streaming platforms to the world during the pandemic time, during the closure of the cinemas. What they also seen, what the studios have seen, Disney has seen, and we have a lot of commitment from Universal. We have a lot of commitment from Paramount. They also seen, and also a very big commitment on Warner, HBO, Warner, is that they cannot rely just on their streaming platforms, and they need the cinema business to ensure that their content succeeds. So, in a way, this hiatus of 1 year in Pakistan is going to be 1 year and a half, probably, or 1 year and a little bit more. What it has done is it actually made the entire made the industry revalue the cinema experience, because they realized that the revenue stream from cinemas is still too great to be left on the table.
Salman Sab, I'd like you to add to this as well, because ARY Digital also makes movies, and so how difficult was it for you to cope with the pandemic, and did it really affect it, or did you come up with other ideas? Sir, you mute. Salman Sab, you mute. So if you could unmute yourself.
Sorry, yeah. So ARY is actually, we are into all the business of media. So we have television, we have production companies, we have cinemas, we make movies, we produce movies. So some of the business got really badly hit because of COVID. Like Mariam was saying, the unfortunate thing about cinema is that we are a very brand new cinema country. So we just started getting movies and producing movies in cinemas coming to our countries for, like, let's say, last 4 5 years, 6 years. I still remember when me and the owners of other cinemas used to sit down together when ARY came into the cinema, the movie business. We were expecting 200 to 300 screens by the end of 2020. And this was going to explode in Pakistan. Indian cinema owners, Indian movie owners was looking at Pakistan as the second largest market for their movie screenings. So everything was going very well. That's why the huge escalation of movies happening in Pakistan. At one stage, I remember in 2018-19, producers were fighting for days of launching movies. So on Eid day, instead of having just one movie launch, we used to have fights between 5 producers launching on the same day. Because Eid is the biggest revenue earning week for all the cinema owners. Coming back to the COVID, television has done very well for COVID. I don't know why or how. I think because of all the takeaways and all the restaurants being shut, people are going towards takeaways. The food business is growing very fast. Um, we haven't seen so much television viewership in the last 4 years like we have seen in the COVID years, not only in Pakistan but all around the world. Our numbers in the UK, our numbers in the USA, our numbers on YouTube, our numbers on apps has completely broke all the numbers. So yeah, so our business both ways, we suffered a lot. We have got 5 movies right now canned, and we can't launch. I think somebody has to be brave enough in Pakistan to take the initiative of launching these movies on the digital platform for the first time. But if we do that, we'll be missing out the first step, the cinema step of our country. So if we jump from no cinemas to some cinemas to launching movies on a digital platform, will actually completely eliminate the cinema goers in our country. Because in our country, we were used to not going to cinema last 5 years ago because we didn't have any cinemas. Suddenly, we pushed people towards the cinema. It took us 5 or 6 years to push people. But even if you looked at that, there were only a certain amount of percentage of people who used to always go and see the same movie again and again. So we never could get new cinema comers to our cinemas. But now, if that is eradicating, we won't have any cinema goers, and we'll just eliminate that, that step and jump towards digitization of Pakistan on cinema. Could be a good idea. Could be a different idea actually.
And so, Sajid sir, do you agree with Salman sir and Mariam? And also, do you think that the media industry will change the way it works to prevent damages during and prepare itself against a pandemic? Or will resilience pay off? Sajid sir, you're freezing. And I think, Sajid sir, we can't hear you. You're freezing. If you could fix it. And Mikaal, are you here? Because I also see a frozen frame with Mikaal. No, Sajid sir, we can't hear you because you're constantly freezing. I think you'll have to join again. Mariam, can you take that question?
Well, yes,
about resilience.
I have worked, because I have worked 25 years in cinemas. I'm biased on cinema, right? And I do believe that, yes, although we are going into a digitalization, and it's great, and I don't have any problems in that, I don't think that cinemas will die, and I don't think people want that. I think people want to leave the house. I think people need to leave the house, particularly in Asia, and I have experience of working in Vietnam and Malaysia and Pakistan, particularly in Asia, where you still have a dynamic, a family unit dynamic, where everybody lives in the same house. You need to get out of the house. And that is important. You cannot, and this is a very important fact. You cannot really stay at home and pretend people to stay at home and just watch a movie and stay at home on their phone. Cinema goers in Pakistan are avid cinema goers. They love going to the cinema, and they just all they ever wanted was to watch content. They are very used to watch movies online on a pirated base. They're very used to that, but they still want to come to the cinema because the experience of going to the cinema, the experience of joining people together and actually watching a movie and shouting at the same time and getting scared at the same time and getting emotional at the same time, you cannot see that anywhere else but in the cinema, and particularly as it happens in India and as it happens in Pakistan, the audience is another entertainment factor inside the show. So you cannot really say let's skip the cinema and go directly to digital, because I don't think you're doing a service to the society, particularly the society in Pakistan.
And Sajid, can you speak for us again? Because I think you're freezing again. I'm sorry. No, Sajid sir, you're still freezing.
We were doing.
Okay, so Mikaal is back. Mikaal, Sajid sir, we can't really hear you because you keep freezing. So Mikaal, this question that we've asked everybody else.
I heard the initial question. If I'll just add to it. I mean, I think similarly, as Salman and Mariam both said, film obviously has taken a bigger.
Mikaal, you also keep freezing.
Yeah, we need better internet in this country. That's all we need.
Yes, we do need better internet in this country. Okay, until the two of them fix their internet. So I'd like to ask you both, Salman sir and Mariam, that when are we going to diversify our storyline? Is it the reason that Pakistani content is not there on OTT platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime? Because we see a lot of Indian content on OTT platform, but not Pakistani content. new Pakistani content that they have actually, they're producing, or they've commissioned. So why don't we see that? Is it because? So sorry, Sajid Sahab is back. So I think
Finally.
finally he's back. You should.
Thank you.
Ask
It's just
Sajid Sahab, if you could add to the first question, then we'll go to the second question with all of you.
You see, the thing is, as Mariam was very rightly pointing out, that we love cinema. It's not that we don't love cinema, but the fact that policies have made us take certain tangents, and those tangents have led to cinema being closed, taken as a real estate industry. Our industry didn't flourish for many reasons. I think one of the reasons is our political scenarios between Pakistan and India. And people, of course, love each other. There are great ties and everything, but when certain things happen, and they have been happening over a long period, these last 75, 78 years, that impacts Pakistan extremely badly, especially the creativity side. And of course, in war, censorships tend to work overtime. And that, unfortunately, has impacted us. But Pakistan is an extremely creative country. And people like Salman, Iqbal now, these people have taken it to the next level, right? This creativity field. But they need help, and everybody needs help, and everybody needs to collaborate, and we need to have platforms and everything. I think it's more of a societal thing in Pakistan, creativity, than anything else. I think everything will somehow focus on how we see and view censors, and how our agencies then act upon those censors, and stop certain subjects altogether. And that's where our viewer becomes a little bored, because you keep pushing the same subjects over and over and over again in different guises, in different whatever. So I think that has negatively impacted. But on the other hand, now that we are living in a global world, I think it's going to change. I'm hoping it's going to change for our next generation. We will become adults finally, and secular in our thinking, and that's what's going to impact cinema in Pakistan as far as content is concerned. Now, this pandemic thing is more a medical question than anything else. I think this COVID thing totally destroyed our industry, especially people like me, the oldies. It has come to kill the oldies, it seems.
Hey, Sajid, I was asking Salman Sahab actually just before you joined that, why is it that Pakistan is not producing content for OTT platforms like Netflix and Amazon Prime?
Now that is,
and when are we going to diversify our storyline? Because you were talking about storyline, so maybe we could.
It can happen today, but with Salman taking the decision.
Okay, I will answer that question about the storyline. I have heard this for the last 21 years. Because I've been in the industry for 21 years. When I started television from London to Pakistan, I remember, World Call used to be the only platform in Pakistan who had Wi-Fi and internet and the digital boxes. And they used to steal my feed from UK because I was not in Pakistan. So my satellite used to be Hotbird. So they used to have a small imprint in Lahore. Used to steal my content. And then we launched 6 months later, we launched in Pakistan because of World Call. So I remember from that day till today, we have always fought for content.
Yeah.
We have never, and it's a good thing. It's a very good thing that we have different viewpoints of content. We try to change the content every time. We had to have that content 7 years ago because of India, because Saas Bhi Kabhi Bahu Thi, Ghar Ghar Ki Kahani, it had taken over Pakistan by a storm. So we as television owners, we sat and we said, oh my God, we can't break into that market. So we had to adopt it, but in a very, very nicer way, which we did. So now our content went back to India after a very long time. There was Zee Zindagi, other TV stations had started taking Urdu content from us, and we were doing very well. And then suddenly the public started saying that we need to change the content. Do biwiyan, teen biwiyan, uski wife, uski maa. This is not a content for Pakistan. So we said, what? Let's get into reality. We started going into reality. But what happened then? Television viewership started going down. Because the problem is, the majority of Pakistan is not four of us. We are from the SSC A, SSC A plus, and B. The majority of Pakistan is below that level, and they want to see that. We have launched movies like War. We have launched movies like Main Hoon Shahid Afridi, which has to be the content which attracts the major people. So we changed the content last year, and I still remember 3 days ago, all my production companies, we went back to the meeting on the drawing board that, oh my God, we're losing viewership. And you know what? They all pointed at me and they said, you told us to change the content. And now look at, you told us to make content like Churail and all this stuff. And now look at us. The people are not watching us. Our competition went back to the same content that we used to do. And they took over. So now we are going back to the drawing board, going back to the same instruments. That's the first thing. The second thing is about Netflix and the OTT platform. You have to understand that all the headquarters of Prime and Netflix is India. They are not taking our content. We have tried very hard. We have fought against them. We have spoken to Netflix America. We have spoken to Netflix Singapore. They are not taking our content. If they even take our content, they will only show at Netflix Pakistan. They have a geo locked against our content. So we have to go to places like MBC to dub the content into Arabic and show it in the Middle Eastern world. So it's not us that we are not trying really hard. We have been trying. We have been trying for the last 3 years since the digitalization. So now what we have decided is, the same thing happened to us 20 years ago. People were not accepting us as Pakistan because I remember when I went to USA to launch my content, the guy, the owner of Dish Network, 21 years ago said, "Oh, sorry, we already have Urdu content." I said, "No, you don't have Urdu content." He said, "No, Star Plus and ZTV is Urdu content." I said, "No, they're Hindi content." There's a huge. No, sorry, we don't need. We don't need more Urdu content. So we were always confused between India and Pakistan content. I still remember that when we launched War in the UK, the first biggest movie ever in Pakistan, I took 4 or 5 people with me in an empty cinema. You know what they said? "Oh my God, these Indians have gone so far. Look at them. Look at the." So I said, "It's not made by an Indian. It's made by a Pakistani." So from then, I remember every movie that we start, the first thing we have on the screen is made in Pakistan. Because we are so close to our neighbors, the skin color, the language, the treatment of content. So we have to make sure. And then suddenly COVID happened. So coming back to the digitalization, I think the only way out is we have to start our own content for our market first. Once we get big on digitalizations in our market, then I think the world will accept us and take the content because they need viewership, they need content.
So Mariam, would you like to add to this? What Salman has
No. I just for Sajid, it's also, I think it cannot be a better time for actors, for the entire community of actors, directors, producers, sound engineers, cinematographers. It cannot be a better time to produce because everyone is thirsty for content. So I totally understand what Salman has gone through, and it's extremely, really tough. And I think all we can do is continue. Because the moment we start giving up, then we have to forget about everything. That's the time that Sajid should be worried. That the moment when we start giving up, not now. It's not now.
Sajid, have you on mute? If you could unmute yourself, I think you're saying something. No, you have muted yourself.
Yes.
Oh, okay, sorry. No, I haven't. No, I'm not muted. Anyway.
And Mikaal is back. So before we lose him again, Mikaal, would you like to say something?
I'm just to get internet. I don't know if you guys can hear me.
Now
We
we
can hear
can.
you now.
So, coming to everyone, coming to the panelists, and thank you for having me. Just quickly, I'd just like to start from the beginning. जो बात हो रही थी, obviously.
Oh, you're freezing again, Mikaal. I'm very sorry. So you'll
And
have
I'm
to
mute.
join again. Sajid sahab, आप बोल ले because.
Actually,
Then yeah,
I'll tell you what. I think Salman is the business side of things, and of course he understands extremely well the force that India, pressurizes the entire creative community. And they say there's a Pakistan-Indian question always, and I don't want to get into that kind of debate, but because we need to somehow get along. For the viewers, whether they're Pakistani, Indians, Brazilians, whatever, they need to see a good storyteller tell stories. It's about stories. The whole entire world is about stories. So, Mariam, that's never going to change. We're all stories, we're all characters. Whether you are in a cinema watching those characters or in real life, people looking at each other, we're all characters. And the drama, the world is totally a stage, to me at least. So no, that's not never going to change. But what's happened over this pandemic and this COVID thing is that we had to stay home, didn't do anything, and some of us who weren't prepared enough financially to sustain this onslaught of total inactivity. I think those were the worst hit, and actors, all of us were hit, and we shouldn't shirk
Yes.
from the reality that we were hit, that we are in a bad place. But on the other hand, it has given us time to reflect. It has given us time to see things now. When the Oscar was given to Anthony Hopkins' movie The Father against Monk, a production value that was humongous, right? And pitted against a very small budgeted, one flat storyline, The Father. And The Father won finally, right? Just because it was in content a far heavier, pithier
Yes.
storyline than the other one. So I agree to that. So it's not about just huge productions, it's about telling the stories from the heart. And that's what we need to do. And I think a lot of it hasn't been told. This India-Pakistan conflict could turn to a very healthy one, as Salman Sir was saying. At one time, the cinemas were being packed because we were showing Indian content. And suddenly, because of politics, it all shut down. And that is a very sad part. I think we need to continue with dialogue. We need to continue sitting across with whoever and give peace a chance and give nations a chance. So I think that attitude needs to be looked upon and then brought to focus so that people could discuss things. And I think people like Salman Iqbal are the torch bearers there, and they need, because they have the responsibility. These are the people who are bringing us to the new era. So I hope that dynamic people like Salman, and I'm talking directly to him, that he takes this thing and takes, and we know that there are problems and everything, but we need to still continue dialogues. And I think that's where we could make a difference. And panels
So
like
now,
these.
It's all on you,
so now
Salman.
you can see, yeah. So now you can see how much pressure I am in
It's all on you.
for the last 21 years. I
You are,
I remember,
sir, but you love it.
I love it. I love it.
That's right.
I'm making I'm making a very big project in Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad. And the first thing I made I told my architect I need a cinema. I need a COVID-free cinema. Figure me out to make the first COVID-friendly cinema in Pakistan, and we are actually right here. I've taken one of the two greatest minds of architect from UAE and Pakistan, and they're actually designing me a cinema which will actually people won't be worried about COVID. Of course, the easiest way to have it is have no roof and no walls, like a drive-through. But we're working on it, and inshallah, Cinepacks will be proud to be partners with us because we are, we are there, and we love this country. We love content. We love to entertain people. I always say there's always three ways to entertain people. Either you make them cry, you make them laugh, or you make them think. And we have all three tools. And like Sajid said, we are a nation of beautiful people. We are we don't have to find people. When we do auditions, alhamdulillah, we get a huge line of talented people in our country. We don't have to worry about doing makeup for them, or because they're naturally beautiful. Thank God we got the better part of Southeast Asia. We're very happy of that. And we are very talented, and we can do so much, but
That's right.
we've always been politically suppressed.
Yes.
We've always been politically suppressed. Kabhi, sometimes it's from outside, sometimes it's from inside. We have never set at rest. We can never think towards one side because we're always thinking about everywhere. And I believe the countries and the communities who are suppressed have the best content. One of the
We've seen
Pakistanis.
it. It's content from Iran. Iran.
Exactly. Look at
They
Iran.
never treated that way just because of the
Unbelievable.
content.
वो कहते हैं ना उर्दू में अगर शायर को अच्छी बीवी मिल गई तो उसकी जिंदगी बेहतर हो जाएगी, अगर नहीं मिलेगी तो शायरी बेहतर हो जाएगी. So I think somebody, I forgot the name, said that. So we are suppressed, we are a suppressed country, and suppression makes you more innovative, and it makes you more content comes out amazing. If you look at all the shires and all the writers, they had a huge problem in their lives. They were never happy. And they gave amazing, beautiful content that we go through.
Well, it's one way of looking at things. Yes,
But
it is.
I wanted to ask Mariam, that, as Salman Saab said, that he tried to change the content, but they had to go back to the storyboard because though the new content wasn't really,
Yeah.
getting that much traction. So do you really think that, are we agents with power over what we want to view, or, is there a trend that we need to follow in order to get ratings or traction or more
Well,
viewers?
you always have formulas, right? So whenever we at the cinema level, whenever we see a movie that is a formula, we are excited because we know it's going to bring people into the cinema, and that's the reality. And at the end of the day, my business is to make people happy and be entertained. And the more people I can do that, that's the better I can do. The reality, the beautiful thing about what we would love to see is variety, because that gives us ability of programming. Whenever we program the cinema and we have multiple screens, we like to have a little bit of everything. We like to have a romantic movie, a scary movie, an action movie, a kids movie, a drama. We would like to have the full thing, so that everybody that comes to the cinema and said, I want to watch this, I want to watch that. Okay, we'll see each other when we come out, and that's a family. As a family unit, you can do that. But the reality is that we like blockbusters. And that's everybody. Salman loves blockbusters. Sajid loves blockbusters. Mikaal loves blockbusters. Everybody loves blockbusters. The other important issue here that Sajid also mentioned is that it's expensive to bring a movie. It's very expensive to bring a movie. We have 3 censorship boards. We have to make sure that everything passes, that nobody is upset. And therefore, whenever you want to bring something different, and I'm saying it even from a distributor point of view of, we distribute American Hollywood titles, right? So whenever I want to bring something a little bit more art house, I have to think about it. Because are you sure, Mariam, that you want to bring something more art house? Because you're not going to see the money back. So we become very conservative whenever it comes to programming, because of the restrictions that we have here and the difficulties that we have here. So whenever we can do this is whenever we have consistency in the business. Ever since I started coming to Pakistan, to Pakistan in 2015. right? And ever since I started coming to Pakistan, all I see is you start the business do fantastic, and then it stops. You start the business do fantastic, and then it stops. So before the Indian ban in 2019, 2018 was the best year in cinema business in Pakistan ever. And that was because we had a combination of fantastic Indian movies and wonderful, over-the-top Pakistani movies that were all the majority that were released that year in 2018 were all in the top 20. And that is not because people were like, okay, let's come to the cinema and watch whatever. No, that was because people wanted to watch Pakistani movies that were very good in the cinema. So I think what we need is the line of business to never stop, and that you will see how easy it is to grow. We have all countries, every country around the world have difficulties. The difference here is that we seem to always hurt ourselves first, then the external factors hurt ourselves. So we need to be careful in that, because the consistency and the continuity of cinema, of the business, is critical for us to grow. I want to project that I'm going to be open and I'm going to receive content and I'm going to have content for the next 10 years. But I cannot do that.
So there's a question related to that, and I'd like all three of our panelists, since Mikaal is not here, to answer this. The question is that the crisis underscores the need for flexible, resilient business models, including increased focus on cash flow forecasting and impacts with supply chain and commercial channel partners. Do you think our media organizations are well prepared and equipped to make such projections? Salman sir, we can start with you since you have a media.
Sorry, you broke up a bit for the first part. I didn't get the first part.
Okay, so basically the question says that the crisis underscores the need for flexible, resilient business models, including increased focus on cash flowing forecasting with and impacts with supply chain and commercial channel partners. Do you think our media organizations are well prepared and equipped to make such projections?
See, we are a very, very young country. If you look at it this way, we are just a 75-year-old country with the pressure of a country which are over 300, 400 year old. So we have the West, which are a mature society. Television, I think we are one of the most newest television and content manufacturers in the world. So we were the top manufacturers of content initially, with Sajid Bai's dramas and Tanhaya and all that. And completely we were stopped. And then we came back in the year 2000, 2001, 2002. So we're still very new. We have a huge splash of channels. We have, oh my God, we have so many TV stations right now that sometimes, if you feel like launching a new TV station, you have to figure out what name we should get for the TV station, or let's go with a vowel, or let's go with a sound, instead of having a name, because all the names are gone. Alphabets from A to Z, they are gone, So because of that, there's a huge problem with the cash flow. I can vouch that 95% of the television industry in this country is losing money, bleeding money. So we never got to there. We never got to, safeguarding ourselves for the cash flow, because we always were in deep waters. So COVID, वो कहते हैं ना, COVID ने हमारा क्या बिगाड़ लेना है जब already बिगड़ा हुआ था, So we were there. We were always losing money. Majority of the news channels and the TV industries were backed initially by the government, by their spending. So every government used to come in, they used to spend huge amount of money on television industry through commercials of their own. So we should sustain that. This government has stopped it. So we had one of that issue. The second was we had the COVID issue. So a lot of TV stations took a hit, and then the repetition of content started happening. So I think we have learned very quickly in last 20 years. We've adopted very quickly, but we're still not there. We'll still take 3 or 4 more years, 3 or 4 more clean years. No political issues, no COVID issues, and believe me, we will be. I believe in the next 5 years, Pakistan will be the biggest uh, content contributor in the world. If we get 5 years of just, peace and quiet from all the inside and outside casualties.
Will the
Sajid
Mehmal,
sir, do
I'd
you
like to
Sajid sir, do you think you can add to this? But I also wanted to ask you that do you think that censorship creates a problem? Because Mariam has also mentioned it for cinemas, for movies. So what about dramas and other content, digital
for
content?
everything. I think Salman will vouch for it. Jaji Seja is always going to Islamabad to explain something or the other about the content. So yes, censorships. No, look. At the end of the day, as Mariam said, everybody likes blockbusters, right? But when it comes to these small productions, television and all that, there is where we can experiment. And those are the laboratories where you could have the kind of subjects that you can't probably, you know, invest time in cinema at is that kind of content which you can't probably, gamble with in cinema could be used in these parts. So there has to be a system. Now, Pakistan doesn't have a system, and I don't know whether the industry declared is actually an industry because we don't get any ramifications of it. People like us who've been at it 30 years. I go to a bank and he'd laugh at me and he'd say, why, what are you doing here? So they have nothing to do with us. So there is no system as such. And these private enterprises, of course, they've sprung up over the last 20 years, have had their own problems, huge, humongous ones. And it's because these people had to have deep pockets is how they survived. And as Salman rightly pointed out, most of the channels are now right now bleeding because the content is I don't know whether people want to watch content right now or the news, because every day is almost a doomsday. When the COVID started and the kind of scene we have right now, the kind of belligerent, extremely volatile political scenario right now, where you have all the major political parties at loggerheads with each other, trying to eliminate, if nothing else, and they don't respect any kind of consensus or anything. They haven't sat down. So this kind of volatile political atmosphere is adding to us being extremely insecure, and I think that needs to be addressed first and foremost in Pakistan. And everything will flow from that, because we need to, art flourishes in times of peace. In times of war, you just have to have war as the focus. When you are in war, and we are at war for the last 75, 80 years, in Pakistan, we are always prepared for war. We're always at war. So that's one big problem. Yes, so censorship.
Mikaal has had terrible internet. He's apologizing to the audiences and to the panelists that he couldn't join us. He's just sent a message. So I'd like to ask 2 more questions as well. So all three of you could take that. The first question is that are there any positive implications of the pandemic that you think could revolutionize the media industry in the days to come? And the other question is related to this, that how have the losses to the global entertainment industry impacted the local scenarios of media platforms in region? So Mariam, if you could start, and then we could come to Salman.
Yes. As I mentioned before, positive, I think, again, the results that we see in the US, in Europe that have opened, and in China that never closed, or only closed in January 2020, and then reopen in March, I think. I think what we see is amazing numbers. And what we see is that as long as we have content, there is not going to be much of an issue in the cinema world, in the cinema business. There will be integrations, and there will be integrations of companies and conglomerations of small companies into bigger companies. I think that will happen, and I think that it's a good thing. And I also believe that the what we've seen in the last weeks, where Amazon has bought MGM, will also be a continuity of integration, of vertical integration within the businesses, and it's natural, and we like that. I like that. I like seeing that, because it means that you're also taking care of businesses, and you're also taking care of content. That is positive. For Pakistan, I think that the positive part is that, again, this pandemic has pinpointed the difficulties that we have been going through, not because of the pandemic, but because of the lack of continuity in our business, with regards of ban of Indian content. And I think that started to loosen up and soften up. And that is also a very good thing, because that means that when we come back, we eventually, hopefully, we can come back with some sort of Indian content that allow people to come to the cinema on a regular basis, and prepare the Pakistani industry to make sure that we have content, sufficient content of Pakistani industry all year round, not just on Eid, not just on the 2 Eids and the 1 public holiday. We need content all year, of Pakistani content all year round. And that only can happen when we have an industry set up that is designed and engineered to bring content on a regular basis. If you tell me that I can have Pakistani content every week, I will be happy to show it in my screens.
I think as far as
So basically, what we have learned in the past 14 months is one thing, that we are very well rested, very, very well rested. So when you are very well rested, you get a splash of intellectually you are alive. I think you'll see a lot of good content coming next year. A humongous amount of content, not only for Pakistan, but I think worldwide, because everybody has got time. Initially, you'll have a burst of movies on COVID. You'll have all this, what could have happened and what would have happened. And you'll have all this Hollywood and all the kind of content will come out. But then, if you saw the world for the last 2 years, movies like Shawshank Redemption, movies like we used to see in the early 2000s and 90s, they stopped coming from Hollywood. We had movies which were only based on action. Stories were not there. We had sequel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We of course there was Harry Potter, which was which was there, but we didn't have amazing content for the last 2 years, because people were. We had content industry has become now like a cotton or a manufacturing or a gold industry. Same at our place. We have to have 4 production companies who I own, top 4 production companies, and we have to go through because of people like Mariam, and we want content to be seen in our cinemas, right? We want more Pakistani contents. So what do? We just manufacture. We just manufacture like any other industry does. Ek print hai, one print, and we keep on stamping thousands and millions of copies for that. That's why the content deteriorates. So I think we've got enough time now to rethink what the content should be, and how the content should be attracting the Pakistani and the world market. And believe me, I don't think that it's the language, it's the culture. Anybody who produces amazing content, even in Boro. Today, the world is so fast that from a digital platform, it comes all over the world, and people can see all around the world. Friends reunion yesterday was just unbelievable. My son is 17 years old. He's not gone through that Friends era like I have when I was in America studying. I couldn't find HBO Max in Pakistan, so I had to literally look for the CD, and I found a way to see content. So if you produce good content, believe me, people will find a way. People will find a way to come. Cinemas will be full. Digital media, and the world says that newspapers have gone now. If you look at the world, people say newspapers are the older concept of journalism. But can you believe we still have newspapers in the world, and they're still making a lot of money? So media never gets eradicated. It goes down for a bit, it comes up for a bit. So I strongly believe that even digitization all over the world will not kill cinemas. Because the fortunate thing about Pakistan, the unfortunate thing about Pakistan is that we have no other forms of entertainment except food, and so cinemas were the only option we had, and the best thing in cinemas was food. Again,
Food, yes.
Good.
Amazing food,
Yeah.
nachos.
Yeah.
with
Good
popcorn.
food.
Exactly.
I can tell you guys, it's very good food.
Yeah,
Pakistani
and
food.
and I remember my kids would go 15 minutes later in the cinema, but they will have to stand in the chaos to get food. We don't have clubs, we don't have bars, we don't have theme parks. So the only option we had was cinemas and food. So I think if the COVID, once the situation gets better, we'll go back. We'll go back to the creativity. We'll go back to the content. We'll go back to the cinema goers. We are a nation of people. The world wants to come out right now. So I was getting videos from America. Casinos are back on. Casinos, Dubai. If you look at Dubai, restaurants are full. Everybody's out. So I think once we get this sorted out, inshallah, we will give you good content. That's the promise.
Okay, I think Sajid Saab is gone again. Or can you hear us, Sajid Saab? We can't see you. No, I think he's not here. Okay, we'll just take one last question and then we'll wrap up the session. The last question is that, I'll just mix up the two questions. What would the theatre look like after the pandemic? Salman Saab has already said that he's trying to make a cinema which will be COVID-free. So maybe he can answer that. And also, how can the masses at large combat misinformation garnered from social media during times of a pandemic? So that's a bit different from this topic. So maybe we'll do the theatre part first.
Okay.
Because we have
It's a theater. Is by theater they mean theater, live
cinema.
Okay. I think we need to review how we provide an experience to people. Yes, and we have started doing that, providing different experiences in the cinemas for different type of customer. We have our premium formats. We have our biggest large screen in Pakistan. We have a kids hall that allows kids to run around and nobody can tell them to shut up. We have the normal theaters, and we brought in really nice projectors, laser projectors that have impact in the viewing experience. So it's always bright, it's always to the right light, and the production of any fantastic movie that has been made can be seen in the way it was intended. In terms of the experience inside the cinema, we have to review our air conditioning so that it has all of the cinemas have fresh air intake that will make automatically cinemas safe. And having said that, I have to say there has not been one case in the world yet devised where people have been infected from COVID in cinemas. So in essence, to be perfectly honest, cinemas are extremely safe and have been safe even in the locations in the countries where they never closed. The cinemas, for example, we never closed cinemas in Korea, never closed cinemas in China, only closed for the very first period of the first 2 months of COVID, and then that's it. So there had not been any case of of COVID transmissions within the cinema business, so within the cinema industry or within the cinema theater itself. I think the fact that you're silent and you're eating popcorn and that's about it helps a lot. It's not a match. It's not a cricket match or a football match where you're shouting constantly all the time with while watching the game. So that can actually help. So I think that it will be the focus for us will be to make sure people come back to the cinema and remember the habit of coming to the cinema, because after 1 year you forget and you have to restart, and it's like baby steps again, restart going into what you used to do before.
So Mariam, I don't in our countries, Southeast Asia, Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, we don't keep our mouths closed.
I know.
We only keep our mouths closed when we're having popcorn for the first 15 minutes, and then we want to shout.
But sometimes not even that.
And we want to whistle. We want to whistle on every dance number we have. We want to, on every dialogue, we have a dialogue. I have seen this in cinema. So every dialogue
me too.
that the cinema gives, I see the audience interacting with the same dialogue. It's unbelievable.
I know.
I always tell
I manage cinemas in Pakistan. I know that.
So I always tell my producers that you only have the first 10 minutes to make the screenplay as boring as possible. They say, why?
No.
Because the first 10 minutes we are busy eating popcorns and nachos and drinks. The moment the popcorns and nachos and hot dogs finish, then we start concentrating on the screen. Then you have, so when you can, the storytelling, initial storytelling, I said, do whatever you want to do in the first 10 minutes. And then get into the physical part.
Well, nobody's in the screen in Pakistan in the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Sorry. I have to say, nobody's punctual in Pakistan in the first 10 minutes. So I never seen so many people coming into the cinema 30 minutes late. And I'm like, what is this? What is this?
Yeah, because they know the content is the same, right? So they know what's going to happen in the end and the middle. So coming back to the cinemas, the best closed environment right now in the world, which is still safe, is aeroplanes. And if you look at Emirates keeps on promoting that we circulate the air every 30 seconds or 60 seconds. I think that could be an option. I think the world will change in the next 6 months. A lot of things will change, and of course the cinema will change itself. The cinema has taken a big hit, of course, in COVID. So has sports. Sports has taken a bigger hit than COVID, which is a complete different session that we should have. Because sports is the biggest hit right now than any other industry in this in the world. Coming back to cinemas, coming back to content, there is an alternative for cinemas. Digitization, television, there is.
I don't agree. I totally disagree with you, and you know why I disagree with you? Because you are saying it's digital or it's cinema, and it's not. It's both.
No, I'm not saying that.
There's plenty of space. There's plenty of space
I'm
for
not saying
both.
That. Mariam,
and there is no one or the other. On the contrary, we should complement each other. It's not about one or the other. It's about complementing each other. And I can tell you right now, the biggest avid users of the digital streaming services are avid users of cinema. So we go hand to hand, and the more they use cinema, the more they use streaming services, and vice versa. So
Mariam,
I'm happy for us to coexist. I don't think that there shouldn't be a way, and I think it should be even more.
No, Mariam, I'm not saying that we cannot coexist.
I'm saying we can.
What I'm saying is, because of the COVID situation, there is an alternative for cinema, but there's no alternative for sports. There are a lot of other things where there's no alternative of except cinema. So that's why cinema will revive immediately, because people will have to come out. But a lot of other things like restaurants, there's no so the alternative for restaurant is eating home. That's not an alternative, but that's an alternative just to work on it. So that's a complete different. I didn't say that we cannot coexist. We have to coexist. There's no other
and
option.
He's making new cinemas, so of course,
of course,
he would like to coexist.
I'm
Exactly.
actually making 36 screens in the next 2 years, and I'm so sorry,
I'm
used to one word.
happy
I'm
to
so
see it.
scared.
No,
What will
don't
I
be
do with those
scared.
screens? What
Don't
will
be
I do with the
scared.
screens? Yeah.
We
So
will help you.
I think we're running out of time, but I'd like to thank all my panelists very much, and Mikaal, who could not make it. I'd like to thank him as well. But thank you so much, Mariam, Salman Saab, Sajid
Thank
Saab,
you.
because this discussion was really, really interesting. And the key takeaways from our discussion is that, of course, cinemas took a hit. Of course, the media industry, entertainment industry, everybody took a hit. Sports took a hit, as Salman Saab mentioned. But, we are a resilient people. And this is a resilient industry. And we have not lost hope. We are, in fact, Salman Saab is actually investing in more cinema screens now because he thinks that, we can, of course, there are alternatives like OTT platforms like Netflix, Amazon, and, there's digital media, there's everything else. But if we bring new content, bring interesting content, people will watch it. So that's the main takeaway that, people will keep coming back to cinemas, people will keep coming back to the TV screens or digital media, everything, as long as you provide them good content. And so good luck. And next year, inshallah, as everybody has predicted, that we will see lots of great content because everybody is well rested. So let's see what happens next year. And inshallah, we'll be back in cinemas again. And thank you, everybody, for joining us from around the globe. And thank you to our panelists and speakers.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.